welcome to Seen Through Glass. Welcome to Spain. Now, if you hadn't seen the title of this video, you might have thought that I'd come to Spain to test drive a new Seat or a new Cupra, but no, you read correctly. I'm here to drive the Ferrari 296 GTB. Now, the reason why that's a little bit sort of surprising is because historically, Ferrari's kind of international media drives have always taken place in Italy. This is the first time I've ever heard of or attended the launch of a new Ferrari not in Italy. But I'm not complaining because this is Seville, one of the most historic and stunning cities in Spain, let alone Europe. And my flight landed, well, an hour ago, and I've got about 30 minutes until the press briefing starts for the 296, which I have to attend, but I was determined to get out here and start exploring because there is so much to see. My briefing starts in 3 minutes. Whew, I am sweaty. I just covered a lot of ground in not a lot of time. But as you can imagine, we're not going to be test driving the new 296 GTB in the centre of Seville. That would kind of be a disaster. We're heading to a sort of nearby circuit, and then we're going to be using the roads in and around the circuit to test the car. That's why I was so keen to get out and explore this place before I basically leave. So yeah, anyway, glad I did it, but I need to wash my face and get ready for this briefing. Well, good morning. Last night's briefing was long and detailed, as most Ferrari media drive briefings are. The key thing that I took away from it is this car is supposedly all about being fun to drive. Now, that sounds like a sort of fairly straightforward statement for an 830 horsepower mid-engined hybrid V6 Ferrari, but I've been seeing it quite a lot recently. Modern cars in general, but also some Ferraris have become so good they're sometimes void of a little character. This is an entirely new engine for Ferrari and it's a hybrid, so it runs the risk of being a little bit void of character, but supposedly it's going to be insanely fun to drive. I cannot wait to find out. I struggled to get to sleep last night. I am buzzing with excitement for today, so I'm going to finish my espresso, get changed, head downstairs, and we're going to head off to, yes, get in a 296 GTB. What is life? Whenever I come to these Ferrari launch events, I always intend to be very calm and journalistic and analytical, you know, not judge the car until I've really driven it properly. But that all goes out the window the minute I step into a new Ferrari, because if you don't know, I'm Ferrari obsessed, and this is a boyhood dream. I mean, my name, or my channel name, is in the windscreen of this car. And they're like, go have fun. I'm one of the first people in the world to drive this thing. It's just, thank you. Thank all of you for making me be able to live my dream life. But as I said, come on, let's be serious, Sam. I'm gonna be very, journalistic, as I say, try my best here to analyze this car because it's very interesting for me. This is the first time I'm properly driving a hybrid Ferrari. I have driven a LaFerrari very briefly, but let's face it, that technology is, 10 years old now? I haven't driven the SF90. This has got a new engine, a new V6, and hybrid tech. So I'm really intrigued to see what that's going to be like because, for example, in a second we're going to pull away in pure electric mode. And to me, that I don't really, that and Ferrari in electric mode, I'm like, What's that going to be like? Well, let's find out. So let me get myself a little bit more comfortable. I've got these styling, lovely shifter paddles. I think I'm on. This is on. There's no like startup. It's on. I'm ready to go. So theoretically, if I release the handbrake, put it into, let's go auto mode. Up here. Am I on? Maybe I'm not on. Now I'm on. Okay, ready. P, D, E. We're moving. Electric Ferrari, people! Hybrid, but... to be honest, I'm not quite used to this yet. I've been on the road for about 20-25 kilometers now, and I'm driving along being like, huh? Driving a Ferrari in EV mode. I'm just like, this is, wow. I mean, it's actually kind of great, but odd. As you can imagine, the systems in the 296 GTB are insanely complex, especially the hybrid systems. I'm driving around currently in sort of hybrid mode, and the car's just figuring itself out. Officially, I have no battery range left, but it still seems to switch into EV mode every now and again when the engine kicks in. It's sort of fairly seamless, apart from hearing a bit of a roar behind your shoulder. Yeah, just gets on with it, which is quite nice, I suppose, but when it is in EV mode, I'm just like, oh, huh? Anyway, just like the SF90, we've gained another Manatino in the 296 GTB. You have the traditional one on the right-hand side that does things like wet mode, sport mode, race mode, etc. On the left, we can kind of control the battery deployment. As I mentioned, I'm in hybrid mode at the moment, but if I want to sort of, you know, be a little bit more traditional Ferrari, I can step it up. So I'm going to hit this. It's going to put us into performance mode. And I'm going to put us into race on the traditional Manatino. Now things get a little bit more lively. Whilst we are still using, of course, that battery deployment, everything's aimed at performance rather than necessarily efficiency. So if we also switch us into manual gears, start coming down, I think we can start to have a bit of fun. Here we go, people. Happening? How have we gone from that relatively sedate, almost Prius-like EV mode to this galactic destroyer of a supercar with the flick of a few switches? This thing is absolutely insane! Oh, and listen to that soundtrack! Last night the engineers were saying that they'd nicknamed this new V6 engine the Piccolo V12, the baby V12. And I can understand why at so many points in the rev range. Sounds like an 812 Superfast or the old GTC4 Lusso engine. It's just symphonic. And the speed. I mean, we're in performance mode, so we're actually not getting the full 830 horsepower. That's reserved for what's called qualify mode. But we're getting near as damn it. We might be down 30 or 50 horsepower. It's all about battery management. They want to ensure sort of endurance of performance. So they just reserve a little bit, which I guess makes sense. Trust me, this doesn't feel lacking. At no point I'm like, oh, I wish I just had that extra 30 or 50 horsepower. The acceleration, the speed is just mad. But it feels remarkably controlled. The car feels super planted on the road. The steering, as with all Ferraris, is really direct, but actually I don't find twitchy. I was a bit nervous it was going to be too direct. And you've got this soundtrack that's coming from over your shoulder, and the gearbox is it's just fantastic. And you know what it is? Despite the fact that we've added this hybrid powertrain, I think there's so much more motion than with the F8 Tributo, which Ferrari are keen to point out wasn't the predecessor of this car. This car joins the Ferrari lineup. It doesn't replace any outgoing models, but the 488 GTB, for example, was the previous Bernaletta. This is a 296 GTB, another Bernaletta. So you can make those comparisons. And yeah, like as that V8 turbo engine got more and more perfected, it just lost a bit of fizz, as good as it was, this has all the fizz. Everything is tingling. Honestly, all of my senses are just on high alert. But I'm smiling. I'm smiling so much. Oh. Well, what an amazing morning it has been so far. Honestly, this part of Spain, by the way, breathtakingly beautiful. They weren't that keen on the camera inside, so I didn't film too much of the coffee making process, but it's looking pretty good. It's rather large espresso. I think I'm going to be a bit jittery this afternoon, but I mean, that car's already got me quite jittery in a good way. It's just, I think I was expecting it to kind of, you know, be almost revolutionary, not feel like any Ferrari that I've ever driven before, but it's not. It feels very familiar to lots of other Ferraris, just kind of better in many ways, and like it's just got a bit more emotion, a bit more personality, which, you know, really bucks the trend with a lot of other modern supercars. Okay, fine, when you're driving it around in E-mode, it's like many other sort of electric cars, I suppose, but it's an added bonus that you can cruise around in E-mode in towns and cities like this. One thing I have to say though, so I wonder if I'm going off the way it looks. Not sure, I keep getting out and going, some angles it looks a bit, I don't know, a bit funky. Now, I know I started today by saying that this thing is drop dead gorgeous, and maybe I still think it is, but a couple of times today I've jumped out of it and I feel like I've sort of caught it a bit of an awkward angle, especially around the back. Just every now and again I look at it and I'm like, oh, what's going on there? Now, a lot of the design inspiration for this car came from the iconic 1960s 250 LM, one of the most beautiful Ferraris ever made in my opinion. But I also see a bit of Dino Ferrari, I also see a bit of Enzo as well, especially if you come to the side here with this kind of haunches and that kind of boxy square roof. So lots of elements I really like. Just as I say, every now and again I sort of just catch it at a bit of a weird angle. Maybe it's the fact it's a new design language from Ferrari, and that always takes a little bit of time to get used to. Fundamentally, I think I like it. I just need to get used to some of the angles. Now, lots of you will know I don't tend to do that much driving on track, so this part of the 296 GTB experience isn't necessarily that relevant to me, but I'm still mega excited because, well, firstly, how often do you get to drive a £250,000 Ferrari on track? Not very often, so I'm not going to miss that opportunity, but also the cars we're going to be driving on the circuit are equipped with the Assetto Fiorano pack, which is all about making the cars a bit more track focused. I was very pleasantly surprised at how relatively soft the ride was in the 296 GTB as we were cruising around these beautiful Spanish roads. It's not to say it wasn't dynamically very capable, it was just, yeah, nice, not that firm. However, the Assetto Fiorano cars get slightly different dampers which are a little bit firmer, supposedly. Let's wait and see. Third and finally, I never actually went flat out in the car on the road, just because you never really need to. There's so much torque and power at all points of the rev range, you're just always going so quickly. But I do want to experience what full acceleration is like in this new Ferrari, so we're definitely going to be able to do that on circuit. So yeah, it's still going to be mega, even if I'm more used to just, you know, popping to the coffee shop. Right then, here we are out on track in an Assetto Fiorano car, and my first test is big speed. Oh my good lord, this is what I couldn't do on the roads, and oh my god, that was like 265 kilometers an hour. Outrageous pace. And it kind of just feels effortless. The car just keeps pulling. So, oh, the turning is absolutely nuts. Now, I've never driven on this circuit before, and this car does have quite a lot of power going to those rear wheels, so I'm taking it fairly easy. But, oh my god, this is so exhilarating. What's nuts about this thing is how relatively easy it is to get in and drive like this. I am no pro, you all know that, but here I am. blasting around a race circuit in a 296 GTB. Oh, good lord. Big on the brakes there. The thing is just so composed all the time. Oh, it wants to move around a bit out of that hairpin, I tell you that. It's getting lively, people. This is so insane. This is why you need to come out and drive a car like this on track, because as unbelievable as it was out on those roads, this is where you really understand what it's all about. And now, another moment to start going flat out. The acceleration in this thing is mind-blowing. Here we go. Oh, pedal to the metal. Oh my god. 250, 260, 270, and I'm coming out of it. Wow, that's quick. Big brakes. Those brakes are so nice to have when you go in that kind of speed approaching a hairpin bend. Don't remember many on-track experience where first I've had the confidence that this car gives me so quickly, but just the grip and the speed, it is mind-boggling. These brakes also are fantastic. Well, boys and girls, what a way to finish off my 296 GTB experience. Not sure I'm going to forget that one for a while. Bloody hell, I need to go lie down. I need a whiskey. Oh. Hola. Hola. Whiskey. Café con leche.
Sí.
Okay, gracias. Okay, gracias. I'm genuinely exhausted. What an experience. Now, I'm going to open up to you here a bit, have a bit of a heart-to-heart. Today I've been a little bit intimidated. This is a big, proper international media drive. Everyone here is legit journalist. Like, I mean, there's Henry Catchpole and Rory Reid and Jason Barlow and loads of people who've been doing this for a very long time and do it very well. Not really sure how I got invited. This morning I was okay with that because I was doing my own thing, you know, doing a bit of travel vlogging and going to do my sort of coffee adventure. Then we got here to the track and it all got a bit serious. I started comparing myself with other channels. I was like, oh, Carfetch, Auto Trader, they're brilliant channels, and who's going to want to watch me drive around track? I don't know what I'm doing. But I thought, you know what, like I said before I went out, when am I next going to get the chance to drive a 296 GTB on track? So let's just go for it. And thank God I did, because what an insane experience. And that's what this channel's all about, sharing experiences with you. If you really want to have the sort of, you know, the journalistic critique of a 296 GTB, there are plenty of other channels that do that, and you may have already watched those videos. I'm here just to share the incredible life which you guys have allowed me to live. And yeah, what was hilarious about that experience just now is usually you go out, you have a sighter lap, and then you do a lap in sport, then race, then maybe CT off. I got in the car just after Shmee, and he'd obviously finished his run in CT off. So when I got in, I was so sort of flustered I didn't look down. I did the entire thing in CT off. I was like, well, this car's lively. It's because traction control was off. But yeah, wow. Unreal. I'm going to sit here, sip my coffee and reflect on what a crazy life I seem to live.